In the final episode in Season 1 of House of the Dragon, we witness the tragic death of Lucerys Velaryon and his dragon, Arax, when leaving Storm's End after the failed negotiations with Lord Boros Baratheon. Lucerys and Arax are chased and taunted by Aemond Targaryen atop Vhagar. Lucerys is then shown losing control of Arax, who unexpectedly attacks Vhagar with a burst of fire, hitting her across her face. In response to this, Vhagar disobeys Aemond, commanding her not to pursue, and instead chases down Lucerys and Arax, killing them both in one quick bite. Many fans interpret this scene as simply two riders losing control of their mounts and having to watch from their saddles as the two dragons control the battle. However, in this video, I propose that there may be more to it than two dragons choosing to just ignore their riders. We know that Arax was a very young and inexperienced dragon, and panicking in a situation where he was being chased and threatened by a far bigger dragon is not surprising. The initial attack by Arax can therefore be considered a reasonable reaction given the circumstances. What makes less sense, however, is how Vhagar seems to completely lose her temper over a relatively very small dragon, clearly making a mistake in a stressful situation. We have to remember that Vhagar is the most powerful and experienced out of all living dragons, having taken part in several battles, and she does not have a history of disobedience. It is therefore unexpected that she would refuse to let such a minor attack go, especially if her rider specifically commands her to do so. But there may be a deeper reason that explains her actions. As we know from previous episodes and from the books, the bond between rider and dragon is complex and not entirely understood by fans nor the Targaryens themselves. While the relationship we see in the show has the rider commanding the dragon, King Viserys states in episode 1 of the show that the idea that Targaryens control dragons is an illusion, implying that the bond does not stop a dragon from acting on its own accord. Nevertheless, the magical bond between rider and dragon is certainly something special, as we have seen that dragons can feel the pain of their bonded rider. For instance, we see Carax's scream when Daemon is hit by arrows when battling in the Stepstones. We also see flashes of Syrax screaming in pain when Rhaenyra is in labor with a miscarriage. These are just a couple of examples out of many. You could take this idea a step further and consider that the dragons may also be able to understand the context and emotions surrounding the pain, therefore having a greater impact on the dragons that goes beyond just physical pain. With this in mind, in episode 7, right after Aemond had claimed Vhagar, he was confronted by his nephews for secretly claiming the large dragon, and the fight where Lucerys cuts Aemond's eye with a dagger followed. Since Aemond had bonded with Vhagar at this point, it means that Vhagar would have experienced Aemond's pain when losing his eye, and maybe even understood the context of the fight and Aemond's feelings in that situation. Losing his eye in that fashion would have caused excruciating pain both physically and emotionally, which would have affected Vhagar's relation to Aemond and perhaps sparked a resentment towards the nephews. If we look even closer at the exact actions before the final cut was delivered by Lucerys, we see that just before Lucerys threw a fistful of gravel in Aemond's face, which blurred his vision and deemed him unable to defend himself, was then immediately followed by Lucerys' dagger cutting into Aemond's eye. Now, if we go back to the skies in episode 10, Vhagar is unexpectedly hit by fire to the face by Arax, obscuring her vision very similar to what happened to Aemond in the altercation with his nephews. It may be that Vhagar correlates the sudden blindness to the event right before Aemond lost his eye, where his vision was unexpectedly obscured in a tense situation. This correlation could have triggered a form of instinctual behavior to protect herself and her rider from the pain to come. This interpretation suggests that Vhagar's disobedience was not due to a sudden outburst of anger or the inexperience of Aemond as a rider, but rather due to her believing that she was acting in the best interest of her rider based on prior experience, wanting to prevent all the pain Aemond and herself experienced last time. It also suggests that the emotions and mind of the rider are more important to the dragon than verbal commands. Whether this interpretation is accurate or not, it does provide a perspective on how the bond between rider and dragon is formed and behaves in difficult situations. With that said, let us hope that the show explores the Targaryen bond to dragons in more detail in upcoming seasons. Thanks for watching.